What an extraordinary technical crew we have here. I think I'll do. I think I'll do one more because I do like these quite a bit. The audio on the first part is a little bad on the Skype, but Candace is terrific, and I like this answer quite a bit too, I think.
How much is being an Uncle Tom pay?
What is it that somebody's really trying to say here, right? They're trying to say that if you disagree with me, it must be because you're being paid to disagree with me. What that really means is, I have all the answers to everything, and I am infallibly right on every single subject. Therefore, if you disagree with me, the only reason possible is because you're being paid to disagree with me. Arrogant much? Hey, Uncle Tom was constantly termed as a kind of a coward. But who's the coward here? You're the ones that are supporting Democratic policies that have ruined the black community. You're the ones that have been doing nothing, but basically supporting the absolute destruction of the American inner cities and black families that have been run by Democrats uninterrupted for 40 years, 50, 60, 70, 80, 134 years in the case of Atlanta. How dare you accuse me of taking money for this one? You're the people that are the Uncle Toms. You're the people that are selling out the black race. You're the people that are doing all this harm. And I'm trying to have the courage to stand up and actually change things for the better. She's just great. She's just absolutely great. I know, I had a feeling that these needed to be call-in kind of things, that I needed to be able to see the people and talk to them. Because I could have just taken the question, I guess, and just done a 1 minute rant on it. But especially after this first, that was the first set, we did 3. The reaction, Candace's reaction especially, was so, I didn't get to see much of it while we were shooting it, because I got to kind of look in the camera and I can just barely see it out of the peripheral vision. But when I went and did the edit on him, I realized that it's the best part of the segment by far. I think is the reaction, and this is what we see when we do these things live. I started doing them at the last TPUSA event, and the answers were, the shortest one was probably 1:40. A couple were, 2 to 3, and a couple were 4 or 5 or 6 or something. And Natasha was in the audience, and she was saying, there are people who are just vibrating, trying to get their hand up to get a question in. And she said, when you start doing the 3 or 4 minute things, you've already made the point. You probably made the point 2 or 3 times. And I've heard this before, needless to say. But this has been, it's been a real interesting year in terms of breaking open some, some mental barriers. I frankly just didn't think it was possible to do it in a minute. Now that I've seen them and done them, I just don't imagine how you could not, do it in more than a minute. I think they're really, really sharp. Oh, you might as well show you the other one. What the heck? We've done 2 of the 3. Here's the third one that we did, and then I'll be back.
You're a woman. How can you support a president that wants to grab you by your vagina?
That one's a little tough, I have to admit. But look, we have to talk about the difference between talk and the difference between action. So first of all, let me ask you this. If there was a microphone on you, your entire life, every single time you had a sleepover with girls, every single moment of your life was recorded, are you telling me that I couldn't find a couple of times when you said things either about men, about white people, black people, gay people, you never, ever, ever, in confidence to somebody else, said something that I couldn't use to stop you from basically running for office? Talk and action are 2 different things. So if the question is, how can you support a president who says, I want to grab these women by the vaginas? The question really is, why is it that you supported a president who actually raped women? Why is it that you supported the Democratic candidate who claimed to be a champion of women's rights and who did nothing for 40 years but simply destroy the reputations of women who came forward, not because Bill Clinton said something, but because Bill Clinton either molested them or raped them or so on. How come you're such a misogynist for backing the Democrats? I don't understand. Yeah, she's terrific. That young lady's terrific. I'm going to see her down in Florida in a few days, I guess. Natasha and I are going down to Florida on Monday for a TPUSA thing. We'll be back on Thursday, I think, something like that. But she is terrific, and we're going to do some more of these on Friday. The thing I like about these, and this is something that I realized, I don't know, a year or two ago, something like that, maybe even longer. Having done a couple of colleges and stuff, and seen the eye rolling, and all of the, and all of this, contempt. I think we talked last episode about how we send people to college at their stupidest point in their lives. And what I got to realize from the questions from actual liberals, the reason I like these so much, I like this format so much, is they're conservative students asking questions as if they're liberals. These are the questions that they get every day from their other students and from professors and so on. So it's a friendly audience, but they get to put the bite into the question. So it's a great format. But what I realized from answering a bunch of these questions in real time out there on stage in front of some of these people is that all of it is about this unearned moral superiority. All the questions that these conservative kids get, all of the arguments that are directed against them, it is Guatemalan Water Snake says you sound upset at her for asking them. It sort of seems like you're making her look bad. Yeah, that's exactly the point. I am trying to make her look bad. I'm trying to make them all look bad. This is, given this careful thought, some people say, in the end of the Venezuela video and so on, you're a little, not a little, you're really pretty hostile there, calling them stupid. That doesn't help to win them over. And I think that's wrong. Like I said, I gave it careful thought. The questions like how can you possibly connect to black people when you're white, and how much does an Uncle Tom pay, and all the rest of this stuff. These are not intellectual arguments. These are insults, and they're insults that are couched as a question, but they're just plain flat out insults. And so, after a great deal of consideration, I realized the best response to that insult is to insult back, is to take it as an insult, because that's what it is. And so I go right after the moral argument. I'm not too worried about the facts of the matter. I've got most of those up in the vault. My object in these things now is to listen to a question, especially when I get one live and from liberal audience and stuff, and rather than trying to go to the information answer, I sit there for a minute and I try to figure out what insult is this person leveling at me. Many times, you're obviously making a good argument or whatever, but you're just doing it for pay. I think of all the three that I did, I think that was my favorite on the spot answer because I really like that idea that, in other words, I disagree with you because you're absolutely, utterly infallible on every subject in the universe, and anyone who disagrees with you must be the only reason they could possibly disagree with you over anything is that they're being paid for it. I like that a lot. But the Uber strategy is essentially this. These people in these colleges and the people that have been brainwashing them for 30 or 40 years now, have been telling these people that capitalism is evil for evil people, and so is the U.S., and so is the military, and all the rest of it. And they're told this so that they stay on the side, on the left, and they feel that by being on the left, just simply by being on the left, they're virtuous people. And my goal now is to make sure that that argument is immediately destroyed. You're not virtuous people. You're horrible people. You're horrible people, and you're responsible for all these troubles. And I take this moral superiority argument, and I flip it back on them, and I put it right in their face, and I call them what they are. You're stupid, stupid people to believe in it, and the results are evil, and that makes you evil. And that's it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. The last person I mentioned, I think, was that interview with Chadwick Moore, but there are large numbers of people out there who just don't like the Democrats. They don't like Hillary Clinton. They didn't like Bernie Sanders. They didn't like any of that. These students, mostly these young people, are not like that. They're true believers in this lunatic old man who's promising socialism and all the rest of it. But they believe it because they think they think it makes them look good. And I'm determined to say, no, it doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like you support murderers. And I just, like I said, you're supporting the destruction of these black communities. You're the ones who are supporting a president who raped multiple women and a candidate who spent her 40 years of her life destroying the women who she claims to be a champion of. And you're the ones who are saying that you cannot disagree because of your skin color. You can't have your own opinion because your skin color is a certain way. These are repulsive positions to take. They're repulsive and they're disgusting. And that's my response to them, and that's how I'm going to respond to them in the future. And you can see it. You can see it in their faces. They're confused and they're disturbed, which is good. I was just thinking on the way over here today, I was thinking about these videos, and I was thinking, trying to remember what the biggest reaction I ever got was. And this was I think at the same TPUSA thing, which are basically conservative students, but I seem to remember the most shocking thing that I can remember saying was that, by the way, the subject of feminism came up or something, and I said, by the way, am I the only person who's noticed that the only person who ran for president in living memory, it must be 50, 60, 70 years or longer, am I the only person in the country who realizes that the one person who didn't give a concession speech was the one woman to run for president? And the reason that she didn't give a concession speech was because she was too upset and hysterical to come out. And you could just see these kids just, what did you say? No. You heard me. You knew what I said. And that is an interesting moment. I had a conversation with my beautiful wife about this at some length yesterday. I don't like doing these colleges. I especially don't like doing hostile colleges. There are people that like these kind of confrontations, and they like the publicity that comes out of these confrontations. And I am not one of those people. I can't stand it. I just hate it. Thank you. Name's new. Tia Melissa. It works because Bill hits him right in the feels. That's exactly what I try to do. I try to hit him right in the feels. You want to have an emotional reaction to all of these issues? Fine, we'll go after your emotion. Yeah, and she was roaring drunk too. Says Quickie Coin, I want to say. Some new names, that's nice. So, yeah, too drunk and too upset to give a speech, throwing things, having a temper tantrum. This is the person who's supposed to be a champion of women. Don't you like that? Now, T.G. Gecko there says, Bill, if you don't like confrontation, I think you picked the wrong career. Well, first of all, good point. I didn't really pick this career so much as the career picked me. And secondly, working in the format of that short form video is something I do enjoy doing. But there are some people that just like the fight. They like the fight. They need it. Milo Yiannopoulos strikes me that kind of way. And Ben Shapiro. Oh, look at that. By happy coincidence. Dewey DeBoer, sorry about that. Dewey DeBoer? Beg your pardon for mangling your name. Milo and Ben both thrive in the college campus confrontations. They live off liberal tears. Yeah, they do, and I don't. And Andrew Breitbart did. And most amazing thing I ever saw was at CPAC when they were protesting Breitbart this years, quite a while before he died, and they were protesting him by name. There were large numbers of people out there who were, just out there with signs and just chanting and yelling and screaming about how much they hated Andrew Breitbart. And Breitbart somehow found a pair of roller skates and roller skated into the middle of that group of people. And then I think by the end of this, he took them all out to lunch or something. That's a profoundly good quality to have, and I don't have it. I don't like it. And so, frankly, I can be at a college campus, and by the way, those attendances have usually been really pretty poor. I've done college events for 30, 40 people, going to fly across the country and so on, because I don't like that kind of confrontation and publicity. But if I go to a college and do this live, that's one thing. If I do it this way, I think with a 1-minute format, I think these things could really get some views, because the whole entertainment world is changing and constantly changing, and I'm slow to change with it. So, yeah. Putt for Eagle. My gosh, so many new names here. Makes me so happy. Putt for Eagle says some of my best work was the What We Believe series. I gave that speech. I gave a What We Believe speech probably 2 or 3 years in a row. I probably could remember it now if I had to. That was the first time I ever really started to get comfortable with public speaking to the degree that I knew I had a bunch of modules, so to speak, and I could string them together and make sure they worked without too much worry. The problem is, Putt, or Eagle, I suppose is probably better, is that they don't do very well. I thought the virtual presidency arguments, the 11 different subjects on the Your Government series as virtual president back in 2013, I have to say I'm astonished at how. I have no idea how I got them written. I'm just very, very, very pleased with that work, and it was about the worst that my videos have ever done in terms of views. Same thing for What We Believe, and the same thing for the series I did for TPUSA, the We the People 2.0. These were foundational looks at things like government, socialism, capitalism, and so on. It took a lot of work and a lot of post-production time, and those, especially the We the People 2.0, are the by far the lowest performers I've ever done. Now, I had realized that perhaps they were up on the TPUSA site. They were TPUSA videos, but they may have done better there. But in terms of BillWhittle.com or the Bill Whittle channel on YouTube, they were just, 20,000, 23,000, something like that. So. A bunch of these things that just, I don't know. I feel like this 1-minute format is really good, and I think, that the fact that it's got the countdown clock in it is a huge deal, because people with short attention spans may look at this and say, well, he's going to be done in 40 seconds one way or another. So anyway, so I hope to do some more of these, and I hope TPUSA will buy them. If not, I'll reskin them and I'll figure out somebody or some way to do these things, because I think the 1 minute format's probably the way to go for the immediate future, for the near future. And so that's pretty much that. All right, let's have a look